Is Joe Milton Tennessee's best offensive player right now? No doubt about it. He's the most important offensive player, but is he the best? We're going to go top 5 offense, top 5 defense, that in a mailbag here on your Tuesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. I am Eric Kane. You can always find me on Twitter @_Kaner and the show account @LockedOnVols. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Everydayers couldn't do it without you. Please subscribe, if you're not an everydayer, to Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel and follow us wherever you get your podcast. This is going to be a fun show, all right? So, getting kind of creative here on a Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have Josh Ward for a little Award Wednesday tomorrow. But I thought about doing best current players. We'll break it up offense and defense. Top 5 best offensive players right now for Tennessee. Top 5 best defensive players for Tennessee right now. That's segment 1 and 2. And trust me, my list will not be your list. Not to say that your list is right and mine's wrong, or mine's right and yours is wrong. This is up for debate, and I love the engagement @_Kaner and @Locked On Vols. As we go on throughout here. And then, of course, we'll get to your mailbag questions in segment number 3. So there are many different ways we can go about it. We'll start with offense. Offense was a lot easier to do than it was for defense. We'll get to defense here in segment 2. But again, it's a little bit intriguing. Like I said in the cold open, Joe Milton is 100% the most important piece of this football team. Okay? No ifs, ands, buts about it. Jacob Warren is one of the most important players for this offense, but he's not on my top 5 best offensive players, if that makes sense. Cooper Mays is on this list, and he's, arguably probably 2 or 3 of the most important players for Tennessee's offense to be successful. But where does he rank in terms of best? Again, I would love to get your input on my list, and it starts right here with number 5. At number 5, I got Javonte Spraggins. All right, he is going on a 3-year starter for Tennessee. Saw some action as a true freshman back in 2020 as well. And all he does is plug and play, plug and play, plug and play. He picked up SEC Offensive Lineman Award, I believe, 1 time last year. And, of course, when you have the best offense in the country and you have the offensive performances that Tennessee had, it's easy to kind of go down the line and say, okay, Darnell Wright, you get it this week. Cooper Mays, you get it. Spraggs, you get it. Jerome Carvin, you get it. But still, he's done a really, really nice job. Pro Football Focus, I use it for game grades during the season, but I know a lot of people don't like Pro Football Focus. But again, as I always say, it is something, it is not everything. Javonte Spraggins will never be a Pro Football Focus All-American. No, him and Jerome Carvin, they did not like those 2 players, did Pro Football Focus. But Javonte Spraggins is a guy that just continues to play, and I think he's gotten better and better. In fact, I think CBS Sports, and again, it was like right after the draft, but CBS Sports kind of did their 2024 way too early first-round mock draft, and Javonte Spraggins was in the first round. I do not believe Javonte Spraggins will be a first-round pick. I do not believe that, but it just kind of goes to show you that analysts are looking at Darnell Wright, and they're finding Javonte Spraggins. So at number 5 in terms of best Tennessee offensive player right now, I've got Javonte Spraggins. I'm cheating a little bit here at number 4. All right, I'm splitting the running back position. I've got Jaylen Wright and Jabari Small split at number 4. Obviously, the run game is so critical to this offense. It is the most underrated thing about Josh Heupel's offense. Everybody thinks it's an air raid. Everybody thinks that you're just throwing it all over the place. Sure, Tennessee's going to throw it all over the place. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But Tennessee has averaged over 200 yards rushing a game in the 2 seasons Josh Heupel's been here at Tennessee. Okay, and I think Jaylen Wright's going to break out this year. Will it be a true 1 option, 2 option, 3 option, or is it going to continue to be a 1A, a 1B, and then a 2 option? We'll see. But I think the run game with Jabari Small, if he could ever stay healthy, I think he's done a lot of things. And I think Jaylen Wright, though, has that home run ability. I think he's gotten bigger. He's put on more armor, as Jerry Mack said last fall camp. And I think that his body is looking good to play running back in the Southeastern Conference, but he also has that home run ability. So at number 4, I've got Jaylen Wright / Jabari Small. I cheated a little bit. And then let's go on to number 3. A lot of you guys were diving in the YouTube comments yesterday saying I was a Joe Milton hater. I literally have no clue where you got that, but another day in my business. Just because I said he's getting some love at the Manning Passing Academy, like how much does that matter? Is that why you think I'm a hater? Yes, I did watch the Clemson game for whoever commented about that. I watched it twice, actually. Wrote a column about it. I was there in real life. Joe Milton's got the highest upside, but again, I haven't seen enough for Joe Milton to say he's number 1 on this list. Now, should he be number 1 if Tennessee's going to be successful? Yes. Does he have the ceiling to be number 1? Absolutely. Can he be a first-round draft pick if he shows some consistency this year? For sure. But right now, everything I've seen from Joe Milton, he's not number 1 on this list, but I will put him at number 3. Throws a deep ball better than anybody in the country. He's got Cam Newton size. He's dropped 10 pounds. I think his escapability is going to help him out an awful lot. He's a veteran. He's been there. He's done that. He knows the game an awful lot. And I've seen enough for him to where I feel comfortable putting him here at number 3 on this list. Again, going in reverse order. If we're doing this conversation again in December and he's number 1, that will not shock me whatsoever. But Joe Milton will come in at number 3 on this list. Number 2 is Cooper Mays. The center is so critical in any offense, okay? The line of communication starts with the center, okay? Of course, the quarterback's up there audibly checking the defense and all that, but the center sets the protection. You start numbering 0 through play side gap 1, and then the guard will go 2, 3, in man protection, you count it out, all right? Also in this offense, you need a guy that can get up to the second level in a hurry to create those vertical run lanes, but also a guy that's tough enough and good enough in pass set to hold your ground when you have a 0 tech on you or a blitzing linebacker. Cooper Mays can do that. And though Jerome Carvin wasn't horrible and Tennessee's not had a true backup center the last couple of years, it really goes to show you back in that 2021 season how Tennessee's offense looked a little bit different when Cooper Mays wasn't in there. So obviously, outside of Joe Milton and Jacob Warren's in this conversation, Cooper Mays is one of the most important pieces to this offense. But I also think that he's one of the best players in this offense, and that's why I have Cooper Mays at number 2. Will he be a high draft stock guy? Probably not. Would he be successful in other offenses around the country? I'm sure he would, but he's undersized. But this offense fits him perfectly, and he's good at it. Number 2, I have Cooper Mays. And then at number 1, give me Bru McCoy, the guy that was forgotten about last year, that all he did was come in second in receptions and receiving yards for Tennessee. A guy for Hendon Hooker to look out to his left, and he was always there. He was dependable. He was durable. I understand he had a little bit of an injury there towards the end of the season, but he was really good for Tennessee. And Tennessee always has a breakout star at wide receiver that goes for 1,000+ yards. It was Cedric Tillman in 2021, Jalen Hyatt in 2022. I think that'll be Bru McCoy in 2023. Now, whoever plays the slot position the majority of the time is going to get theirs. Look at Velus Jones in year 1. Look at Jalen Hyatt last year. But I think Bru McCoy, he's gotten better in this offense. And like we talked about yesterday, not only does he know what to do, but he knows why to do it. And so I think he would be at number 1. What do you think about my list? It's not that I'm not really factoring in transfers. I think Dante Thornton has one of the highest ceilings in terms of the biggest potential in terms of the offensive players, but I haven't seen him play enough to kind of put him in this list. Jacob Warren, again, is a guy that's going to play an awful lot, but in terms of this list, I think he would just miss out. Is there anybody else? Squirrel White. Again, Squirrel White I saw, and I liked a lot of what I saw as a true freshman. What do you look like as a sophomore? Should I have incorporated any of those other guys into this list? You tell me. My list is not perfect. I want to hear your list. Top 5 offensive players for Tennessee right now. In reverse order, my list. Number 5, Javonte Spraggins. Number 4, I cheated. Jaylen Wright / Jabari Small. Number 3, Joe Milton. Number 2, Cooper Mays. And number 1, Bru McCoy. Let me hear about your list. I would love to hear it right here on Locked On Vols. Let's go to defense, and that was very, very tough. We'll come back and we'll do that in segment number 2. But right now, I want to tell you about a proud sponsor of the show. That is FanDuel Sportsbook. And you can stay in tune with baseball season right now because it's in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on all that action than over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook. New customers Get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 right now. That means up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. All you need to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. Again, you guys know me, big-time Atlanta Braves fans. Ronald Acuña Jr., front runner for the MVP right now for the National League's best team. Get in those futures for NL MVP right now over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets when you join FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. All right, guys, welcome back into it. Your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. We're doing Top 5 Tuesday. We'll have the Mailbag edition of the show. That is coming up here in segment number 3. So, went through and did my top 5 best Tennessee football players on offense for the current team in segment 1. If you remember, Javonte Spraggins, number 5, Jaylen Wright, Jabari Small, number 4, Joe Milton, number 3, Cooper Mays, number 2, and Bru McCoy, number 1. Obviously, that is subject to conversation. So hit me up at _Kaner and at Locked On Vols. Let's go here to defense. And I'm not going to lie to you. This was difficult because so many of your, some of your dependable guys, from last year's team are obviously no longer on the team. So Jeremy Banks was a headache, but he was obviously one of the best defensive players you had. You had Byron Young, who might even have topped the list, and he's gone. He's now in the National Football League, and some others, of course. Defense is tough, and I do think that Tennessee's defense got better last year, and I think Tennessee's defense will take even a bigger step this year. But, there's not this one star, if you will, and so I went a couple of different ways, and this one really is, so is segment 1, but this one really is up for a conversation. I'm going to grab a swig of my coffee real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, check out this College World Series mug, baby. Cost me like $30, but hey, and win in Omaha. You never know if you'll go back again. This one was tough. Okay, so please let me know what you think. Number 5 is very controversial. And again, there's no transfers. Spoiler, there's no transfers on this list. Keenan Peely should probably be on this list, to be completely honest with you. Gabe Judy-Lally could be on this list, but again, he's not. And maybe he should be. I don't know. I don't have anything against transfers. I guess I know what Keenan Peely did, but he was not the same player as he was in 2021 than he was in 2022. And you're hoping that he is that 2021 player for the Vols here this upcoming season. Gabe Judy-Lally did it really, really well at BYU, but he's coming back to the SEC, so I kind of kept them off for those reasons. Number 5 is controversial. I have Roman Harrison here, and hear me out. There are 4 Leos that Tennessee will play this year. Roman Harrison will be the starter, okay? You got Joshua Josephs, you got James Pierce, and you got Caleb Herring. Joshua Josephs, and especially Caleb Herring and James Pierce, have ceilings through the roof, okay? Their potential, their upsides are just so skyrocketed. And I can't wait to watch them. And I think that they can play big roles for Tennessee, and I think that you have those 4, those 3 body types enables you to do a lot of different things in pass rushing situations. I haven't seen those guys play enough yet, okay? Joseph's dipped his toes in the water a little bit last year. Pierce did not, hardly at all, except mop-up duty. And Caleb Herring's a freshman. Roman Harrison, though he's not flashy, he's going to give you, he averaged about 40 snaps a game last year. He started to come into his own a little bit towards the end of the season. I know he picked up SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week honors after that Vanderbilt game. I think he had like 2.5 sacks. He's never going to be an All-American for you. I don't think he'll ever be an All-Conference player for you, but he's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to be in the right spot. And so, honestly, for that reason, I kind of put him at number 5, and that's, again, very, very much up for debate. Also, the get off the bus guys, if Roman Harrison's the first guy to get off the bus, it's like, I know he's not tall, but it's like, dang, man. Whoo! I'd put Roman Harrison off the bus along with Joe Milton every single game. All right, let's go on to number 4. This one, again, controversial. Danico Slaughter? I say it like a question mark. Danico Slaughter? Much like everybody else in the secondary last year, Danico Slaughter was not as consistent as you want him to be. Keep in mind, though, dude made his first start in his first college game ever as a true freshman at the nickelback spot at South Carolina in 2020. Because of COVID, there was a lot of guys that didn't even suit up for that game, and it forced him into action. He did not see any action outside of special teams the next 2 years, pretty much. Then he gets a couple snaps in Baton Rouge this year at the safety position, okay? Or at the star position, actually. No, safety position. And then the whole Jaylen McCollough situation happens, and it wasn't because there was about to be a Jaylen McCollough situation. In fact, the Jaylen McCollough situation revolved around an incident that happened back on Tennessee's campus when they got home from that game. But anyway, he got a couple snaps in that game at LSU, and then when Jaylen McCollough was gone, he started at safety for Tennessee for a couple games. And then when McCollough came back, he moved to corner, having really never played corner ever in his life outside of a couple of times in spring practice back in 2021. Again, I'm a big Danico Slaughter fan. Was he perfect at cornerback? No. Was he learning on the fly? Absolutely. But did he possess the traits that no other Tennessee cornerback displayed last year? Yes. The ability to trail a receiver like you're playing basketball here, hand on the hip, go up and high point a football. The ability to come downhill and just hit, right? Just hit. You got to love that, right? And so, for those reasons, Danico Slaughter is here for me. I'm intrigued, and I'm hoping that we find the consistency there from him this year to where he can be a straight baller. So Danico Slaughter's on my list at number 4. Starting off with a bang, guys. I know. Number 5, Rowan Harrison. Number 4, Danico Slaughter. Number 3 is also controversial because here's the thing. He's never been consistent enough at Tennessee through 3 years. But by golly, he could be, by golly, how about that? What's up, Jeff County? By golly, he could be number 1 on this list if he wanted to be. And that's what's kind of frustrating. Tyler Barron is who I have at number 3. He's good, right? He's good. Now, durability is also an issue. He's gotten better in this regard in terms of being coached by Rodney Garner, and I think I think when he wants to be, he's a pretty good leader. Tyler Barron needs to be consistent for Tennessee this year. They need good Tyler Barron, and they need Tyler Barron to play a lot of snaps. Not a whole lot of snaps, just play the normal amount of snaps. He misses so much time. But, you saw it just like in a flash, right? I think he had like 3 sacks in one half a play against Missouri. He played really, really good with 2.5 sacks against Pittsburgh. You have those splashes, but then you never find consistency. If you can find that consistency, I think Tyler Barron's one of your best defensive players. Again, this is tough, guys. You try to make your list of top 5 defensive players for Tennessee right now. It's tough. Number 3 is Tyler Barron. Again, that doesn't mean that Tennessee's defense sucks. It just means, there's who's the leader? Who's a star? It's kind of hard to find, right? Number 2 and number 1 were easy for me. These were the first 2 names that came out of my mouth when I was prepping for this show, and I bet you guys could guess where I'm going with this. Number 2 is Omari Thomas. Dude's a stud. Dude's gotten better every single year. When Matthew Butler left, Matthew Butler played a whole lot of snaps the first couple of weeks of the 2022 season. Omari Thomas did that, and then Rodney Garner started believing more and having faith more in his rotation, and his snap count went down, which is a good thing for a guy that weighs close to 3 bills, or 3 bills, whatever he weighs. Omari Thomas is a good player, and there was some talk of him maybe even going to the NFL draft last year. But Omari Thomas is a stud. He's a leader on this team, and he's arguably one of Tennessee's best defensive players. And on my list, he's the second best. Number 1, give me Aaron Beasley. I love the story of Aaron Beasley. Love it. Can't get enough of the story of Aaron Beasley. Coming in as an athlete in the 2019 recruiting class, playing a little safety, playing a little running back, playing a little linebacker, gets booted off the team for an off-the-field issue, comes back, is a starting linebacker next to Jeremy Banks for much of the 2021 season. When Juwan Mitchell was out with an injury, it was really Jeremy Banks, Aaron Beasley, and Solon Page, and got a whole lot of snaps, and then took a step in the right direction in 2022, led Tennessee in tackles, and had great games against Clemson, great games against Pittsburgh, great games against Bowling Green. Aaron Beasley, though he doesn't talk a lot, it's like lead by example and watch me work. Aaron Beasley is Tennessee's best defensive player. So that was tough, guys. Please tell me where I went wrong. Hit up those comments, @_Kane or @LockedOnVols. Let me know how you would kind of rank these Tennessee players right now in terms of best. Again, I left out Gabe Judy-Lawley, who I think has got the experience, played really, really, really well last year at BYU, and has SEC experience. Should he be on this list? He probably should be. Keenan Peely is a guy that Tennessee's going to have to count on an awful lot. He'll be a starter for Tennessee. But can you get Keenan Peely of 2021? Who else could be on this list? I think Brandon Turnage is a gamer. I do. I think Kamal Haddon might be the best one if he ever put it together, but obviously he hasn't put it together yet. Anybody else that Bryson Easton's a good player. I very much about put Bryson Easton at number 5 on this list. Rodney Gardner loves that guy. Who else did I lead off? Let me know. Here are my list. Number 5, Roman Harrison. Number 4, Danico Slaughter. Number 3, Tyler Barron. Number 2, Omari Thomas. And number 1, Aaron Beasley. All right, when we come back, we'll get into your mailbag questions every single Tuesday for you everydayers right here on Locked On Vols. That time of the week, guys, it is Mailbag Twitter Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols, where you can always let your voice be heard. You can take over the show and send in your questions, your comments, your concerns. Tennessee football, recruiting, basketball, baseball, whatever the case may be, @_Caner, @LockedOnVols, and of course, in the YouTube comments. So, Braden chimes in. He's got a really, really interesting one. He said, let's play a game where you just assign each of these 3 options to one of the 3 players. The 3 options: keep 1, transfer 1, redshirt 1. The 3 players: Omari Thomas, Bru McCoy, and Joe Milton. Okay, obviously, all 3 of those guys are critical for the success of Tennessee's football team in 2023. So this is very much a hypothetical situation. I mean, you got to have a quarterback. It's the most important position in all of sports. Hardest position in all of sports, cornerback, in my opinion. We've had this conversation before. Catcher and baseball's up there as well. But you've got to have a quarterback. It is the most important position in all of sports. And Joe Milton showed me enough to where he should be the starting quarterback for this team. And I can't wait to see what he does week after week after week and see kind of where he stacks up against the other guys in the SEC and in the country. So I guess keep 1. Man, this is tough. I guess keep 1 would be Joe Milton. I guess redshirt 1 would be... I mean, this is no disrespect. Hear me out. Again, I'm going to have haters in the comment sections, but again, it's just another day. It's fine. In this offense, I think Jalen Hyatt's good. I think Velus Jones is good. I think Cedric Tillman's good. I do. But also, you give me a guy like Ramel Keaton, he can be really, really good. And that's no disrespect to Ramel Keaton, but I'm going to set her through that. But Ramel Keaton is not those other guys I just mentioned yet. Ramel Keaton is good in this offense because he works hard, he knows what to do, and he's got athletic ability. So because of that, I can't believe I'm doing this. Because of that, I would redshirt Omari Thomas, and I would transfer Bru McCoy. But again, this is all hypothetical, and Tennessee needs all 3 of these guys in order to be successful in 2023. I can't wait to hear the reactions from that. All right, Braden has another question. How do you feel about the youth in our secondary behind all the upperclassmen? I like it. It's always easy to say you like the young guys because you haven't seen them get out there and play yet, right? But Jordan Matthews, huge recruiting win for Tennessee. Holding on to Ricky Gibson when Georgia wanted him. Huge recruiting win for Tennessee. Getting Christian Conyer, who was one of the top players in the state of Kentucky. Big win for Tennessee. John Slaughter was a guy that I think he silently committed to Tennessee back in the Rocky Top of Palooza at the end of May last year, which has been rebranded to the 865 Live this year. He was all smiles. He couldn't stop smiling when we interviewed him that day, and so I think that's the day that he actually made his commitment to Tennessee. But John Slaughter's a guy you heard a lot during bowl practices about his athleticism and stuff. And then you have Jack Luttrell as well. So you heard a lot of good things about these guys, but the ones I've heard the most noise from so far, and of course we'll learn more in fall camp, you had a couple guys who were scout team guys in bowl practices, and then of course 15 spring practices. Heard a lot about Ricky Gibson and heard a lot about John Slaughter, cornerback and safety. So I like this group, and I think Jordan Matthews is probably the best of the bunch, and we'll see, of course. But I like this one. And Braden, I'm not going to forgive you for putting that hypothetical out there. That was that was tough, but now that's fun to talk about here. We'll go on now down to Rick. 1 second, let me find it. Let me pull it up here. We'll go to Rick. Can I get AP to recommend a good golf course around Knoxville? AP is Austin Price, one of my coworkers at VolQuest.com, if you're unfamiliar. Rick, I texted him. I said, hey, what are some good golf courses around the Knoxville area you would recommend? He just sent back one. He said Willow Creek. Willow Creek. I'm not a golfer, not a gopher, so take that for what it's worth. Willow Creek is what Austin Price says. Let's go to Aaron. Aaron says, in your opinion, what positions do you think Coach Vitello will be replacing next year? I know it's early, but just give it your best shot. Well, from this year to next year, I guess that's what you mean. Yeah, Tennessee's got to replace a lot of guys. I mean, there's some guys that can step up and who are in the program right now and can take those roles. Also, Tennessee will be active in the transfer portal, already reeling in one guy, A.J. Causey from from Jacksonville State. He's a reliever, but also he was their Friday night guy. So, like, he could be a guy that could start some games for Tennessee potentially if you need him, but also I think he's going to be a relief option. You're losing 2 starters, in Andrew Lindsey and Chase Dolanler, to the draft. Potentially, you're losing your third baseman with Zane Denton, depending on if he's going to take his COVID year and come back. Don't know yet. You're losing Maui Ahuna, your shortstop. You're losing your left fielder, Jared Dickey. You're losing your right fielder, Christian Scott. You're losing 2 top bullpen arms in Seth Halverson and Camden Sewell. So those are your big losses. Tennessee is actively recruiting guys in the transfer portal right now to try to address some of those needs, but you're gonna have to replace all those guys for sure. And so that's the task with Josh Heupel right now. And then finally, we got a last question here for the Twitter Tuesday portion of the show. It's from Jackson. Who did Tennessee move the needle with the most this weekend in terms of recruiting? All right, yeah, I talked a little bit about it on yesterday's show. Obviously, Tennessee had 15 official visitors over the weekend. Tennessee had 3 unofficial visitors. And in fact, I'm going to mention one of those unofficial visitors because he is not currently committed to Tennessee, but I think Tennessee did a great job with him. That is 4-star edge Danny Okoye. Got him up here on an unofficial visit because his timeline is, he's not in a hurry. But the fact that Tennessee was able to get him up here, that way they can use an official visit for a game in the fall, I think is huge. And I think Tennessee really, really enjoyed, having him, and I think he really enjoyed his Tennessee experience. So I think Tennessee did a great job with edge rusher Danny Okoye. Also, I think Tennessee did a good job with in-state offensive lineman Ronan O'Connell. He doesn't talk an awful lot, but he's been up here to Tennessee a ton this year, and for a game or two last year. I think Tennessee did a good job with him. I think that's kind of the talk around town. Braylon Russell, running back from the state of Arkansas, I think Tennessee did really well with him. And then I still think everything I've heard, and of course, Matt Ray, who comes on the pod all the time, and Austin, who we just mentioned, they're, ear to the ground way more in recruiting than I am. But I think Tennessee did a really good job with Mike Matthews and Amari Jefferson, the 2 wide receivers, the headliners, if you will, some of the headliners of this visit weekend. Mike Matthews, of course, the 5-star. Amari Jefferson, highly rated 4-star in-state wide receiver from Baylor High School. Sounds like Tennessee helped themselves out a lot with those guys. So how many of those guys will commit? I don't know. We'll see. I think Tennessee's going to have a big month of July to where you're going to see them just kind of plugging along, commit here, a couple of days later, commit here, next week, commit here, and we'll see. But I think Tennessee did a great job, and it sounds like from everybody I've talked to that Tennessee closed really strong with these last 2 big-time official visit weekends. Of course, Tennessee had 12 official visitors last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, and this past weekend they had 15 with 3 unofficial visitors. So that's who I think Tennessee moved the needle with the most, and we'll see what comes of it. And we'll kind of see what this class looks like. All right, that will do it here for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here each and every day. You everydayers, I'm talking to you. If you're not an everydayer, come back tomorrow. We'll tell you how to become an everydayer. If you're new to the show, please subscribe to Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. Even if you don't consume it through YouTube, if you have a YouTube account, please just go ahead and throw me a subscription. That helps the show more than you know. Let's like this video, get in front of more Tennessee fans, and wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Odyssey app, wherever, give us a follow and or subscription, whichever one that platform takes. Can't thank you enough, guys. We'll get a little Josh Ward action here for Award Wednesday coming up tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.